Tonkatsu, my way. Everybody's done a video for this. I'm not doing anything new with this technique that I'm doing. Very simple change compared to what other people have done. I'm gonna combine the flour and eggs. Once again, this is not new, but I've been doing this recently. I'm here to spread that technique a little bit more because I found it a lot better. This definitely is a good way to ensure that that crust is gonna stick. I wanted to do this video after I came back from Hawaii. I went to a place that had tonkatsu, and that was a really good tonkatsu. I have a torikatsu or chicken katsu recipe, but I have not made a tonkatsu recipe. It's pretty much me trying to go at it. Also, someone had asked a long time ago, like, hey, make something from your Hawaii trip. I didn't have too many good Hawaiian traditional foods, so this is one of the things I'm choosing to do. Outside of boat noodles, I wanted to make a recipe for that, but I don't have enough money for that. I'll give a little bit of science on why pounding the pork is gonna tenderize the meat. I want to mention one more thing. I've made a lot of mistakes with this tonkatsu that I did not make as much with torikatsu, which is crazy. I've tried so many different temperatures with a different thickness with the pork. It's perfectly cooked, but just very lightly crispy. I would get it super crispy, but it'll be very overcooked. I had one time that I made it, a little end of the portion was too thick. The rest of it was good, but that little part right there had like a tiny circle that just didn't cook at all, and I was like, wait, what? Let's get into it. Get your frying vessel, set it to medium low. In height, you want about 3/4 to 1 inch of oil. Neutral flavor, high smoke point. And while this is heating up, you're gonna prep everything else. So I made a mistake. I defrosted the wrong bag of pork. That other bag at least had like a 5.5, 5.6 pork chop in it. This bag was supposed to be for like a stir fry or something. Well, I'm working on what I got. Now I wanna get you guys a video. Get you like 4 pork chops. I think for each one, I would go 6 ounces. I lately have not been able to get a 6-ounce one, so I've been going with 5-ounce ones and a little bit over. This one's probably about 4, kind of small. Big thing is really here is the thickness, slightly over 1/2 inch. I prefer my katsu just a little bit on the thicker side compared to like thin. Thin is more crispy, but I prefer just to lessen the crispiness a little bit and have a little bit more chew. That's something that stopped me from posting it before. I had a video ready and then it was too thin in my opinion at the time, so I was just like, nah, I'm gonna go back to testing. First thing we're gonna do is we're gonna cut slits. I find it's easier than pounding first. The fat on the side, just cut slits on both sides, you know, like that right there. And you're gonna go to the other side, go move to the left or right a little bit, cut your next slit. What this does is it stops this pork chop while it's cooking from buckling. Like think of a belt, and you squeeze, and your waist is kind of like that, and it pushes some things up. It's kind of gonna thicken a little bit in the middle, kind of push up, and it's gonna cook unevenly. Some parts are gonna be thicker, some parts are gonna be thinner. This isn't just for tonkatsu. You do this when you pan fry your pork chops in general. Just cut a couple of slits. In between each slit, I probably would give it about 1 inch. We're gonna do the other thing that's needed specifically for this recipe. We're gonna beat the meat. Now take the back of your knife. We're just gonna pound the pork. You can get a meat tenderizer if you want. I save money. I want you to save money. Just one cycle and then go back. And then one more and then go back. Go to the other side is you're gonna bring it back to what it was originally and then make sure it's even. You can take your knife and go like this. Why do we pound our pork? It's to tenderize it. What does tenderizing mean? Make it easier to chew. Soften the meat. Meat is a majority muscle and minor in water content. I already made a video on tenderizing meat, talking about meat structure. I've actually done that in many videos, meat structure. I'm not gonna go into depth with it. Whole cuts have long muscle fibers. Ground meat is pretty much those whole cuts getting grinded into small chunks. So pretty much they get short. So as soon as your ground meat's fully cooked, it's at that okay level of tenderness, comparing it to the other tenderization techniques. Muscle fibers are made of protein. They are coiled up and they're crossing each other in tight. So I pretty much talked about this too. Think of a matrix with all the proteins where they're just kind of like all like this, crossing each other, going over each other and all that stuff. Connective tissue and collagen surrounding the muscle fibers. What their function is that they keep everything connected and they prevent anything from separating. Prevent them from being all loose and flabby. Pretty much give the meat structure. Pounding it breaks down the connective tissue and collagen, leading to the separation and snapping of the muscle fibers. Snapping of the muscle fibers shortens them and loosens the protein matrix and the connection between the fibers. So pretty much it destroys that connection between the fibers. Just like slicing across a grain. Season the taste. I like to add black pepper to the mix of wheat and eggs. It's up to you. Take your pork chop, put it in a container or bowl. If you want both sides dry, put it on this thing. If you want maximum crispiness, do that. Let that sit for a little bit while you prep everything else. else. Or throw it in the fridge, let it dry brine for up to 24 hours. The longer the better, the more juicy it is. Remember, this is a lean pork chop. It doesn't have a lot of fat. It will dry out quickly if you just salted it and let it sit for a little bit compared to 24 hours. The usual side, green cabbage. Personally, in a situation where I'm making tonkatsu, I'm slicing it really thin, dressing it in a little bit of mayo, calling it a day. Thinly sliced, quite thin tonkatsu sauce. Get the bulldog sauce or make it homemade. I like to save money. I don't usually eat Japanese food, so I'm gonna make my own. Here it is. The recipe is 3 tablespoons ketchup, oyster sauce, 1 tablespoon oyster sauce and soy sauce, 2 teaspoons of brown sugar. I tried mustard in this and it's all right. I like it without. We're gonna set up the rest of our dredge and frying station. This is something with some big old holes. Unless you're a frying beast, get your thermometer. To move, flip, and pick up the katsu. Get something with holes in it. You can get tongs. Get you a bowl and a plate or another bowl. Plate like this though, it's sloped. 30 grams of all-purpose flour or a loose 1/4 cup, 2 eggs, and 1 or 2 teaspoons of water. In that water, had like a 1/3 teaspoon of garlic powder and a 1/4 teaspoon of ground white pepper. Mix thoroughly. You don't want to see any lumps of flour. Don't make it too thin. It should be in between thick and thin. Add more flour to thicken it, add more water to thin it. Very little amount. Panko breadcrumbs, Japanese style. And all that specific stuff with breadcrumbs and stuff, I'm gonna ignore that. I still get crispy tonkatsu without it. Go get these panko breadcrumbs that look like they're sharp shards. Probably 90 grams. I'm eyeballing. Wet, dry. Take your pork, put it in here. Make sure that gets on there. Flip, drain, come over here, plot down. Take this hand, take some, put it on top. Make sure you're covering all of it. Be gentle. Flip, just gently pat it on. You do not want to crush these breadcrumbs. I'm gonna do it one more time, just so you can get those extra little wet spots. This will make it crunchier. Shake off excess. Put it on another plate, you're ready to fry. Check your oil with the thermometer. If it's at 350, you're ready to drop in your tonkatsu. If not, don't. Pick it up and lay it away from you. Let that sit for just a bit and then move it around constantly. I'm gonna do one at a time. The oil temp will drop too much, you'll have to bring it back up. The inside's gonna overcook, but the outside will be perfectly brown. You really wanna maintain in between 340 and 335. I would flip it every minute. Each side you wanna cook 2 to 3 minutes. You wanna check the internal temperature and it should be at 135. Why? Because whole cuts of pork, all the listeria and all the germs you're afraid of, they're on the outside. This one's too small, it definitely overcooked, but that's still fine. It's gonna have some juice to it because I brined it overnight. But yeah, it should be golden brown like this. Always remember there's carry on cooking, so the outside's gonna continue to cook and the middle's gonna continue to cook. That's another reason I told you 135. It's gonna raise 10 degrees. Let sit and rest for 5 to 10 minutes. Got the sauce, rice, got the cabbage, and we got the QP mayo. Trying to make this look stylish. Everybody knows what this is called.